said the weapons were simply instruments of war. Where have we heard that before, right? Don't they call guns in Canada weapons of war? How do I know that the Liberals won't be satisfied with a semi-auto gun ban and will continue to ban guns until they're all gone? Well, because in the UK, they're now getting around to banning all sorts of bladed weapons because they have a huge knife crime problem. So I've got an article here from the CBC. It says, Ronin's Law, Ninja Sword Ban, Welcomed by Family. And so in the UK, they banned their guns a long time ago, and now they are getting around to trying to ban pretty much any sort of bladed weapon that you can imagine. They did a zombie knife ban a few years ago, I believe. And this is the typical liberal type of logic where if somebody commits a crime with any sort of object or potential weapon, that's the problem, not the people doing it, not the justice system itself, which might not be punishing people adequately, not the bail system, which might be letting people out with, no bond on their own recognizance the same day or the next day. It might not have to do with, societal breakdown and, single mother homes where there's no father figure in the house. So these young boys end up joining gangs because that's the only place they can get some sort of a father figure from. It's none of those things. It's always, it's the gun or the knife or whatever it is. And, eventually in the UK, they're probably going to get around to banning like baseball and cricket bats because, someone will get killed with one of those and then that's how they're going to solve the problem. It says, a family that campaigned for ninja swords to be banned after a teenage boy was murdered have welcomed knife crime measures expected to be in force in the summer. And this article was from 4 days ago. As far as I know, this was passed. And I believe it comes into effect on July 1st. Ronin Kanda, 16, was killed yards away from his Wolverhampton home in 2022 by teenagers who bought a set of swords and a machete on the internet and had collected them from the post office that day. Legislation named after him, Ronin's Law, is being introduced to Parliament on Thursday and will see the weapons banned from 1st of August. Like I said, I think that's been changed to 1st of July, subject to parliamentary approval. Now, what you're going to notice here in this article is that this is all emotional logic or emotional manipulation, right? They're humanizing a tragic event. It's all about this mother, the grieving mother and the boy. They're not thinking about like second and third order effects of them banning these weapons. They're not thinking about, well, if we ban them for, to get them out of the hands of bad people, that means you're also getting them out of the hands that are good people that might maybe, because they don't have guns, they might want to defend themselves in their home with a short sword or something like that, right? None of those things are considered. It's all this like emotional knee-jerk type of manipulation. So just keep that in mind. Since losing our beautiful boy Ronin, we have relentlessly campaigned for a ban on ninja swords, the lethal weapon which took his life, she said. And you could take that ninja sword out of that paragraph and you could say guns, assault weapons, handguns, whatever, right? Like you can replace that with anything and it'll still completely make sense. There's also been cases in the UK where people have driven vehicles into large crowds of people and killed people, but they won't ban cars because people might actually think that's ridiculous. Anyways, each step towards tackling knife crime is a step towards getting justice for our boy Ronin. The ninja sword ban is part of Ronin's Law, which is set to tackle the online sale of knives. It is part of the wider crime and policing bill that is currently going through Parliament. Yvette Cooper said Ronin Kanda was 16 when he was ruthlessly killed by two boys only a year older than him. Today we are introducing the final part of Ronin's Law in his memory, banning the ninja swords that his killers should never have been able to use. Once again, like this whole story is not really talking about knife crime or statistics or using logic. It's all emotional, right? No place on the streets. Patrick Green from the Ben Kinsella Trust said measures under the Ronin's Law were critical to breaking the supply chain. He said the weapons were simply instruments of war. Where have we heard that before, right? Don't they call guns in Canada weapons of war? Instruments of war that had absolutely no place in our society or on our streets. The majority of ninja swords have a blade between 14 and 24 inches with a straight cutting edge and pointed end. And really, there is nothing special about these swords that they're planning on banning. I think maybe they don't really fall into the machete category, so I guess they're thinking that maybe they can't really be considered like a tool you could use to clear brush or something. But beyond that, there's nothing really special about these, and when they're banned, the criminals will just find something else to use. I absolutely guarantee it. From 1st of August, ninja swords will be banned, and anyone found with one in private could face 6 months in jail, later increasing to 2 years. So, this is very similar to a lot of the gun laws here in Canada, where you can probably, a lot of people will go to jail. Like, let's say you're a licensed gun owner, but you get caught not storing your guns properly or something like that. You could actually go to jail longer than someone who commits aggravated assault, right, in Canada. And this is the same kind of nonsense where it's like, oh, if you're caught with a sword in your bedroom to protect yourself from home invaders, you could potentially go to jail for 6 months. Meanwhile, the guys doing the home invading will probably get out on bail the next day, and they might get like 3 months jail or something like that. When you punish the victims, when you punish the general public worse than you public the criminals, that's called, I've talked about this before, that's called anarcho-tyranny. And it's a method that tyrannical governments use to basically terrorize and control their population. In the UK, they also throw people in jail for what they consider to be like racist memes and stuff like that. Carrying any weapon in public already carries a penalty of imprisonment up to 4 years. So that's what I was saying. It's already illegal to carry these things out in public, but apparently that's not enough of a deterrent. We've just got to ban them altogether. I mean, maybe they should ban criminals. I don't know. Maybe that'll work. It will also be illegal to possess, sell, make, or import the weapon. Measures also include increasing the jail sentence for selling weapons to children or illegal blades such as zombie knives to 2 years. And like I said, these zombie knives were banned a little while ago. They're basically like science fiction type blades that have all sorts of, like weird curves and edges and stuff on them. People would just buy them as like a novelty, maybe throw them up on their wall or something like that. But I guess people used them as weapons, so they had to ban them. Ronin's law will require online retailers to report any bulk or suspicious looking purchase of knives to the police. The government is also set to consult on introducing a licensing scheme for retailers who want to sell knives in the spring. A surrender scheme will run throughout July and allow members of the public to hand weapons in. So, basically they got rid of all the guns. They still have a crime problem. They don't want to address the actual issues. And so instead they are going after all sorts of bladed weapons, I guess. The thing here is a lot of people might point to the UK and say they have less gun crime than in Canada, and therefore, the gun ban must work. And to be honest, I don't really think that that's the case. I think it has to do with Canada sharing a multiple thousands mile long border with the United States, which has, more guns than any other country on earth. So when it comes to smuggling, and then also because of the size of the border, you can also smuggle guns in relatively easy because there's so many places you could cross the border. I don't think they're going to stop with the semi-auto ban. They do the whole divide and conquer. We'll separate the the hunters from the sport shooters, and we'll take the sport shooters' weapons first, and then the hunters won't stand up for them, and then later on when they go to take the hunters' guns, the sports shooters won't be that interested because they already lost their guns, and you know how it works, the old divide and conquer strategy. Conservatives will hopefully reverse at least the OICs. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do the handgun ban, but we at least need to get the Liberals out to stop the damage they're causing on all fronts, not just on the gun front. Then I think we need to stay active and lobby the Conservatives to continue to affect pro-law-abiding citizen type policies, including maybe updating the criminal code so that you can actually defend yourself without worrying about going to jail for a really long time. That would probably help. Anyways, I think that's about it for today. I just wanted to show you how ridiculous things get when you have a out-of-control tyrannical nanny state that thinks that they can ban crime by banning objects. Take care, guys.